All right, thank you. Ricardo Wilkins here, CSM for state of Ohio, state of West Virginia, a couple of cities as well. So hopefully some of my customers are on today. I'll just go ahead and say OH, and I'll see if the QA reflects, the appropriate answer there. Those are my customers that understand what that little call out means. But again, Ricardo Wilkins, Customer Success Manager, and today I'm excited to talk about, some different ways to have meetings and incorporate, existing Office 365 tools. I'm hoping maybe I can help show something that you didn't think of before, right? All the tools are there, but I never thought about using it that way. That's hopefully my goal. I'm excited to see how smoothly this goes. Today has been such a lovely day, and I'm just looking forward to this. So I'm going to jump right in, and of course, continue to put your questions in the Q&A chat as we keep going here. So I'm going to switch over to my demo environment here, and we'll talk through a few things. So in a nutshell, there's 4 things I want to talk about in this short time here. Linking to tabs in a meeting. We'll see how and why that could be effective. Working on files during meetings, you've probably encountered this need, of course, and so we'll take a look at what that looks like. Working with PowerPoint in meetings, we'll see maybe some different approaches to that you hadn't considered, and then using OneNote in a meeting as well. And I know for government, we are still waiting for the whiteboard app, and so I'm often in conversations about OneNote. It is a pretty good alternative as we wait for whiteboard, or if you're not able to unlock some of the third-party apps that do whiteboard capabilities. So we'll talk about that as well. We won't be talking about meeting extensions. I think that was originally on the agenda. That's coming soon, but we will kind of talk about these other pieces for today. So I'm here in my environment here, and I am going to also bring up my other user, my buddy Nestor. He will be here in his own window as well. So he's in a browser setting, and I'm in the full desktop client. Hopefully that's kind of clear here. So I am going to, or we are going to, you can see we're both a part of this audit planning channel in this team. And so we're going to jump into one of these channel meetings that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and join from my side. Being in the desktop client, I'm getting the pop-out window here. So I'm going to go ahead and join here. I'll mute my mic. And then Nestor is also going to join separately. He's going to come over here to audit planning. We can see, we can at least see from that little icon that it's in progress. My little bobblehead is in there, so he's going to join as well. And so you can see we are both now in the meeting, so all is well. So being in that meeting, I'm going to go ahead and go to chat. The first thing I'll kind of talk about here is just, since we're seeing it here, the file that's in the chat. One thing's nice about channel meetings, as was discussed, I believe yesterday, I think maybe by Jeff, that ability to have an ongoing chat there. So that file, as you can kind of see, was placed prior to the meeting, but since we're all part of this channel meeting, we're able to see that. So I've been in plenty of meetings where people have prepped several documents ahead of time, and everybody jumps into a channel meeting and is able to see that. So certainly Ricardo can open this document, and it opens up in the browser for me. Here we have Nestor in the same meeting. He's going to go over to his chat, and again, his looks a little different because he's in the browser. But he is going to open his chat. He sees the document as well that Ricardo posted, so he's going to open it. And so again, just this idea that he is in the meeting, but also able to look at the document. So you can see his meeting still going. This is nice because he can still continue to interact, control his mic, and other things. And if I was showing video, he could still see my video small. But he's certainly in the document as well in his browser. Now, what's also nice here is we're taking advantage of real-time co-authoring, so you can maybe notice very small that the little Ricardo bobblehead is there, letting him know that I am in this document as well. And in fact, we're seeing each other's cursors. So I can see him in the document, I can see his cursor, And as he moves around this screen here or makes edits, I'm seeing that occur in real time. So 1, 2, or 20, or however many need can be in this document at the same time. We don't have to wait for one person to finish while the other does their thing. And again, as we go back to me, I'm looking at it in the browser, but maybe I want a different experience. I'll go ahead and open this in the desktop app. And I really just wanted to point out that, that transition is relatively smooth, but also, again, I'm still able to experience the real-time co-authoring. I still see Nestor there, his cursor's there. So I'm getting all that done. And, and at least in Ricardo's case, in this example, in a multiple window document here, meeting in this on window, and Teams still fully available as well. So this whole real-time co-authoring experience can happen as you're seeing here today with someone in the browser, someone in Teams, someone in the desktop app, and even someone on the mobile device. All 4 of them in those different platforms can all be a part of this experience while in the meeting. So multitasking, right? It's just the ability to do that. Certainly the more screen real estate you have, the better that experience is going to be. But with a little bit of keeping track of things, even on a small screen with multiple windows in your taskbar, you should be able to handle that okay. So again, that's kind of opening a document per se in multiple ways, right? And so we'll see here that I'll just I'll close this out for Nestor, and we'll keep going from here. So that's the document. That's one that was already put in there. Now I could have certainly uploaded a new one from my computer as well. I did want to use this opportunity to point out the way I did that. As I mentioned, I kind of did it before the meeting. And again, this being the chat of the meeting, you can see that that document is a part of the chat, right? And for channel meetings like this, that's a chat that's not just available to the people in the meeting, but anybody in the channel that happens by this in progress meeting can see our chat, can see our documents. But I did add that not just by uploading this document happens to be already in our file area. So I don't want to upload another copy. And I just want to kind of point out, if it's not already obvious, coming into the chat and hitting the attach. Instead of uploading from my computer, I'm really adding it from, you saw that browse from Teams. I'll do it one more time here. Browse Teams and channels. It's an existing document in the channel. Everybody's already got access to it. I just want a nice link to it, and you'll see there that that's what it's doing, sharing a link. So while it looks like I've kind of attached something, I've really just shared a link to it. Teams gives us a nice little thumbnail for it. But again, we're really taking advantage of the fact that we're all a part of the same channel, already have access to the files. That's one of my favorite things about the collaboration experience with Teams meetings and Teams channels, that membership where everyone already knows they have access. If you've been around like me, you remember the days when I share something, I can't open it, let me go change the permissions, so being able to be done with those kind of days and knowing everybody in my team can see everything is just a real great value add. Now for some of those files, and if there are questions in the Q&A, folks on the team, just shout them out to me as we go along.
Yeah, a couple that we have here. Well, the one is from before, but we can maybe just answer really quickly. Is Together mode available for all formats, web browser, desktop, clients, and mobile?
That's a good question. You guys can maybe help me. I want to say that it's coming soon to browser, and maybe mobile, but maybe not there quite yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then can co-authoring be turned off?
Can co-authoring be turned off? I guess I'd answer, because the power of that co-authoring is coming from SharePoint, which Teams uses behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'd answer that by saying, you could, for any, just good old-fashioned SharePoint, for any file, you can change the permissions such that a particular file is now read-only, even though it's there in the Teams files area. You could make it read-only for the team, only make it available to certain people. So from that perspective, if you made it read only or you didn't check the file out, you'd be essentially locking other people out, which is essentially would turn off co-authoring. I don't know if there's a setting for just turning off the co-authoring concept in general, but yes, you can certainly modify permissions on any given file to keep it from being edited.
Okay. And then how is the versioning handled when co-authoring happens with autosave on?
Yeah, so the authoring is all done by SharePoint. In fact, if we go to the files area and open in SharePoint, we'll see that those files are just there. And then in SharePoint, if we click the little 3 dots next to a file, we have version history, so we can see the ongoing history of something. Essentially, SharePoint's kind of just doing a version history kind of on its own. Nestor didn't explicitly say, hey, this is going to be 3.0. But I think SharePoint just kind of sees changes and makes the kind of automatically makes those versions. There is a concept in SharePoint where you can certainly check in, check out, actually check in a certain version number and all those kind of things if your document management really needs to get more formal. But if you just kind of let it do it on its own, it will just essentially kind of randomly, probably not the right word, but on its own automatically do the versioning for you. So a lot of times people ask that question because they say, oh, I'm looking at my file, I've got 100 versions now, and that certainly can be the case. I will say SharePoint does a great job at managing the file size of those versions. It's really just differences and all that good stuff. So short answer is it does it automatically.
You want one more question?
Sure.
Okay. Can autosave be turned off for a document for everyone? I know I can turn off for myself, but haven't found a way to turn it off for others.
Yeah, I don't know about turning it off for everyone. That feels like that might be maybe some kind of policy one might push to their Office installation for the users, but I'm not sure about that. But you're right, there is a button for the individual in the corner for turning that off.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So let's take this even further. We shared a file here pretty easily. But what about tabs? In fact, if I come back over to Teams, I'm looking at my tabs here. And there is a tab to the audit report, so tabs are a great way of pinning key content in your team so that instead of making the whole team go, sift through the files every time to find this, hey, we use it all the time, let's just pin it there. And so let's say now this is pinned and I do want to add it to the meeting, copying a link to the tab, coming over to my meeting and pasting that link. Would then be a nice way for everyone in the meeting to get at that particular file. And so if I take a look back at what Nestor's doing over here and looking at his chat, he sees that link that I just posted and clicks that. And again, a relatively nice experience for someone working in the browser. My meeting is nicely pinned up in the corner here, and I am now in that tab, still in the editing experience, still got the whole real-time co-authoring. So this could be nice, especially again, if we're all in the same team, because I've got my content here. I still got my full-blown Teams environment, depending on how much I'm multitasking. And with it being a tab, I've even got the tab chat associated with this document, which is pretty nice. Again, if people want to have a conversation about the document, they can have that here. Everybody can contribute. So even in this view right here with Nestor, you can see I'm in a position to get a lot done during this meeting. The meeting itself, the editing or collaborating on the document, the conversation about that document, and even going and doing my other things. Maybe I need to do a quick side chat with someone. I can really do a lot done. For those that really don't like to multitask in a meeting, this might be a lot. But for those that try to get as much done as possible with every moment of their day, this could be pretty valuable. So if nothing else, though, we are seeing that he was able to hit that tab pretty easily. From a perspective of me here in the desktop client, I click it, takes me all the way out to Teams. Again, with my window, my meeting is a separate window, so now I'm in full Teams. I can do everything here as well, and then just pop back over to my meeting. So that's that meeting, that file tab experience. Okay. given that we just saw that file tab, another tab that's in this team is an audit planning notebook. So we can make tabs to notebooks as well. And this is, for me, is a good segue into using OneNote as a tool in a meeting, especially as a whiteboard alternative. But certainly people can use their OneNotes for agendas and meeting minutes and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same little tip here, copy link to tab, come to my meeting here and add that as well. So there's the audit planning notebook. If I go over to Nestor, he comes into his meeting and he has that link. So right again, within his team's environment, he is able to, see that whiteboard, maybe even go full screen if he wants, and he can see that. So this is great for us. We both have access to the notebook. We can both interact with it. I can make edits here and everybody else can see it. But when we talk about using OneNote as a whiteboard, a lot of times it's more about the one person kind of showing their whiteboard, maybe driving, doing the writing and the drawing and everyone else viewing. And so as you might expect, here on my side, I'm going to go ahead and open this in the full desktop app. And I'll use the Windows 10 app here. So I've got it open, and now, as one might expect, I can go ahead and share it. All right, so there's my audit planning notebook. So it's being shared there while I'm in this meeting. Let's take a look at what Nestor sees. If I go full screen with Nestor, let's see, come back out of here. He goes in here, so he's seeing my notebook being shared. So as you can imagine, all the edits that I'm going to make to this, whether I'm using my Surface Pen on my Surface device and literally drawing things or typing or moving things around, he's going to see that. If I take it so far as to maybe go a little more full screen with it, I mean, that may make that whiteboard experience a little easier. But when it comes to one person needing to show a whiteboard that everyone else can watch, this certainly works. But again, understanding that Nestor has access to this whiteboard and can actually, open it and interact with it, and he and I and everyone else can see those changes as they occur. This is how we can get whiteboard kind of capability done. If we're not using the native whiteboard app or any of the third-party apps that do whiteboarding. So I usually recommend that if you're doing that, to not that the desktop or not that the browser and whatnot don't work well, but your best experience is to open it in the Windows 10 app, especially if you're a big fan of handwriting like I am. Your handwriting is going to be a lot smoother, and your experience, your sync experience and everything is probably going to be a lot smoother if people are using the app. But you do certainly have the capability to, or the option to, as you can see here, use it in the within Teams. It'll comply. I can still move things around and all that good stuff. That it still applies. So whatever your preference is, but the app is free and available. So I certainly recommend that. So that's really my thoughts about the OneNote app and using that as a whiteboard alternative there. If there are any questions on that, let me know.
Ricardo, there's a question that keeps coming up. The gist of it is, if you share a file in a Teams meeting, will that only be available during the meeting, or anyone can access it at any time?
So in the scenario we're doing here, this is a channel meeting. We're all part of this team. This is a file that existed before this meeting, exists after. From the perspective of our team in this channel, these files live on. This meeting chat lives on because this maybe this is a recurring channel meeting. So so these will be accessible. If you do maybe a meeting that you've scheduled through Outlook, something like that, then you're going to get a different experience because that meeting from Teams perspective can be joined by strangers. So your file sharing and file collaboration experience is a little different there, as one might expect. But this channel meeting really, it kind of knows or assumes we're all in the same team. We all have access to the file. So it's in my words, more bells and whistles kind of light up from your experience in this approach, more so than maybe an Outlook created meeting.
Got it. And just wanted to reiterate, your whiteboard demo of using OneNote is definitely something everybody can take advantage of, especially in GCC until we get that functionality.
Absolutely. The last thing I wanted to show in my little bit of time here is PowerPoint. We certainly all have shared PowerPoint, but I want to just show a couple of things related to that. So here I've got a PowerPoint, here that I want to share with this meeting that I'm in with Nestor. So my typical approach is to hit the sharing piece, either share my screen or maybe even find the PowerPoint and then start sharing, right? And so Nestor's just looking at the PowerPoint. We're all used to that. What I will point out, though, is that usually, for the last couple of decades, right, we're just all used to F5. We go full screen. And that's how we show this. And then, of course, we lose our Teams window. I can't see the chat. I can't see the participants. And that doesn't have to be the case, right? I'm looking here. Got my PowerPoint here. We do have this reading view button that basically takes me to the presentation or show version of my PowerPoint without actually going full screen. So it's still just a window. I'm going to get all the benefits of of a presentation, like my transitions and everything else, but it's a window, which now means I've got some more real estate to do other things, like bring my teams back. It doesn't have to stay this little square in the corner here, minimized. I go ahead and click right there in the middle. I get my full meeting back with all the chat, with all the participants. I don't have to miss out on anything as long as I'm comfortable with a little bit of managing of windows, right? So I can share this as well as interact with the meeting. And from Nestor's perspective, you can barely tell that this is windowed. It does have the title up at the top, but I still got essentially the same experience that I would get with the F5. Okay, so that's one tip. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, clicking that minimize window brings back your teams. We don't have to settle for being clueless about what's going on in the meeting while we're presenting. We can have the best of both worlds. So that's one thing to approach. The other way, though, that I might want to share this, let me go ahead and stop sharing. So I'm sharing a window or my desktop, but we also know that we could share the PowerPoint by essentially uploading it to the meeting. So that has some additional benefits as well. We may already know, as I bring up Nestor here, bring him full screen, that it does give Nestor the ability to go through the slides on his own. So he's now on slide 2, even though I'm on slide 1. In fact, if you've ever been in a meeting where you're running the slides for someone else, we don't have to live with the "can you go to the next slide, please" kind of concept. Nestor here can take control and start to move my slides on his own if I give him that access. So we get some benefits from doing that. But one of the other benefits that is nice about this approach is here Nestor has gone to slide 2, and there's this nice hyperlink here. So this is a presentation about custom apps being available in GCC, and there's a link to more info. What usually happens here is everybody in chat or comes off mute and say, "Oh man, can you give me the slides after? I really want to be able to click that link." We don't have to live with that either, because I've uploaded this and he's got control. This link is live, so you can see that he's able to click that. He's able to bring that up in his browser and interact or read those links, go at those links as he needs to while he's in the meeting. So that's great, especially if you've got a PowerPoint with a lot of slide or links in it. Certainly you can get it to them after, but they can also interact as well. This is also great if one of the links in your PowerPoint happens to be something like a form for a survey, as opposed to maybe putting that link in the chat, put the link right into the PowerPoint and let people click and interact with it in the actual PowerPoint itself. So yeah, go ahead.
Quickly, there's a question. I gave a PowerPoint presentation last week in Teams and could not get the audio of the embedded videos to play for participants. Can you share a little bit about enabling system audio?
Yeah, so while I may not be able to explain what happened in your specific case, but yes, the sharing of something, we hit that button, and there is the clicker or the button here for including computer sound. So as the person is talking about, this is when I've got video or audio in my PowerPoint or otherwise, and I want to include that sound. That's what that's supposed to be for, and should work. I'm not sure what may have happened in your case that kept it from happening, assuming this is the button you click. But yes, that button is there for sharing your computer audio. Okay. So in a nutshell, those are the main things I kind of wanted to show there. Just some of the ways in which you take the things you already have in your team, Office files and whatnot, and maybe use them in some ways that, maybe is at least one thing I showed you that maybe you didn't know or didn't think about before. So hopefully that was useful. And if there are any other questions, I'll take those. But otherwise, hopefully that helped.
Yes, thanks, Ricardo.
All right.
Did you want to take more questions, or are you done?
Yeah, I think I've got a few more minutes, so I'm certainly can take some questions.
Let's see. I'm told that GCC doesn't have the ability to pin OneDrive to the left navigation bar. Is this coming? And Stacy answered it, but if you just want to.
Yeah, the
file tab is already there, right?
Right. OneDrive should be in your Files tab, and then OneDrive, assuming it's enabled or configured on your tenant, should be available there.
And then, can you walk through how to pre-upload the PowerPoint again?
Yep. So if I am in a meeting, let me fire up just a little Meet Now. Let me go to mine actually. Fire up a little Meet Now, jump into a meeting, and then the Files tab or the Share tab or Share button, and instead of not desktop, not a window, but over here to the side, PowerPoint, finding my PowerPoint here. You see it's kind of opening, it's really kind of uploading to the meeting, and then from there, it's all good. There are some controls here for me preventing, if I want to prevent people from moving through the presentation on their own. I've got some controls there for that as well. But yes, it's sharing and then going over to the far right.
Yeah, one thing I want to highlight here is if you, for example, have your chat open here and you shared your PowerPoint, the chat is only going to be visible to you, not the audience, right? The audience is only going to see the PowerPoint.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they would have their own ability to turn their chat window on and off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most frequently questions that I get asked. That's why I wanted to make sure to highlight it. Is like, for example, in the case of if you're doing a training and you share a PowerPoint slide, they want to have the ability to be able to chat with the participants on the side. So I wanted to just highlight that you are able to do that if you select to share the PowerPoint and not your desktop.
All right.
All right, I think that is all the questions we have for you, Ricardo, and thank you so much. This was awesome. Again, just as in the other sessions, I learned a lot as well. So I hope the audience got a lot out of it. And the biggest thing I think out of this is the recording of these sessions that the audience will have access to using the same link that you used to join the session after the session is over.